My name is Lisa Fitzgerald. I am the Chief Human Resources Officer at Eide, so handle things internally for our staff and employees, but also work on the HR consulting side with Lori Dahlberg.
And I'm Lori Dahlberg. I've had the pleasure of working with Lisa for a number of years. I've been with the firm for 18 years and head up our consulting practice, where my primary focus is to assist our clients with any HR matters that they come up. So we are really happy to be here today. So thanks for joining us.
All right, so we're gonna go right into our first polling question here. What do you struggle with the most from an HR perspective?
And truly all of the above might be your answer, or could be your answer, because there's a lot going on in this particular space right now. So I've been in HR a very, very long time, and I won't tell you exactly how long, but a very long time. And there's always a ton going on, but this year has been an especially difficult year in this space. So great, recruitment, perfect. So we will definitely talk about recruitment. We'll really talk about all of these things in some context, but Lori will spend a good portion of time talking about recruitment as well. So obviously, if you're watching the news, listening to the news, online at all, you're seeing a lot of information regarding inclusion and diversity types of initiatives in the workforce. And we are seeing our clients to spend a lot of time in this space, and all on different stages of the journey, I would say. So there's like I said, a lot going on, and it's important that you pay attention to what makes sense from your business perspective and align any types of inclusion and diversity initiatives with your culture, and just kind of meet your people where they are in this space. Millennials have a much different idea about what inclusion and diversity is in the workplace. People of my generation probably think about diversity and would think about race, perhaps ethnic diversity, race, things like that, which is definitely a part of diversity. But millennials take a more holistic approach to what diversity is in the workplace. We like to talk about it as the things that are above the iceberg, things that I can see. So I can tell someone's gender and their ethnicity, for example, but there's a whole host of things underneath the water that you can't see in terms of diversity. So maybe it's my marital status, my education level, my religion, for example. And millennials really look at diversity as a whole host of all of those things in the workplace. And these are initiatives that are very important to them. So we get asked a ton in our recruiting processes and about our strategies related to inclusion and diversity. So something for you all to be mindful of. And again, it looks different for every business. So how you take a stand and how you show up in this space, it depends. It really does depend on where you are at in your journey. Gender equality is another topic that has really had a lot of attention, and it really from women entering the workplace and really what seat they have in your workplace. So there's lots of studies that show that businesses are more profitable when they have women sitting in their C-suite or on their boards or whatever it may be, but we still have a lot of work to do in this space in terms of women at the table. And so lots of discussion on women having a big say in how you run and drive your business as well.
Okay, I'm going to speak about WorkFlex, and certainly this last year has tested all of us as employers and employees with regards to where we get our work done. So WorkFlex just includes the way that you work with your employees to ensure that they are getting the job done and meeting both their needs and the company's needs. And of course, that starts off with remote working. Most employers that we've dealt with at Eide Bailey have had to do some remote working arrangements, if not all of their employees working from home based upon which states they're in. And remote working includes a whole host of different things. You want to make sure that as you're considering remote working for your workspace, that you're really looking at your staff and that you're determining which roles it makes sense to have be out of your normal office location. So which types of positions can successfully and efficiently and effectively work outside of the office space. And then if there are those that it just doesn't make sense to have them remote, that you identify those as well. When it comes to setting up remote working types of arrangements, you definitely want to put in place a remote working agreement. And that agreement just outlines the company's expectations of the employee, as well as the employee's expectations of the company. It could outline the different types of property or equipment or supplies that the employee might need. If you are providing them with a laptop, a printer, a second screen, or different types of technology, you want to document that so that if the employee separates their employment, that you get that type of equipment back. Or if you're choosing not to go through the hassle of getting that equipment back, you're documenting that in your work arrangement as well. So a remote work agreement can really help you outline expectations, both from an employer perspective and an employee perspective. You also want to make sure that you are including collaboration as part of any WorkFlex type of an arrangement. And what that means, again, providing employees with the proper tools, also allowing individuals to continue to learn and develop even if working from home. So setting up webinars or different types of trainings that can be done online. I know last year I had planned to go to a number of different conferences. We all look forward to some of those conferences each year, getting out of town, going somewhere sunny in the middle of winter and getting some CPE. But more and more, all of those types of learning opportunities were moved online, and we were still getting the same type of education. We were just doing it in a much different format. And you need to make sure that you're providing those types of opportunities to your employees who might be working remotely. The other type of collaboration includes teamwork. And this has been one that I think that in particular, our HR team has done very, very well. Lisa heads up our HR team. She makes a concerted effort to get us together on a regular basis, whether it's just for a small happy hour on a day of the week. You know, she'll send us little gift cards so that we can go out and purchase whatever it is that we want to have during the happy hour. If it's some sort of snack or if it's a beverage, the company is still paying for that happy hour and making it easy for us to take part in the happy hour. We join remotely, we have conversations. Our annual holiday event this year was probably one of the most fun ones I've been to. We played games, we made different cocktails, and we had alcohol version of the cocktail as well as non-alcoholic versions. It was just a lot of fun, and it provides you the opportunity to really still get together with your team members. And truthfully, our team has grown so much, and with me being the person who is on the consulting side and most of the other employees not being in consulting, I don't know very many of the other individuals that well. And I got to know those people, and it was actually a lot of fun. With teamwork as well, when you're not all in the same location because you are working remotely or you might be working different schedules, making sure that you're providing opportunities for people to work together on different projects can really enhance that teamwork aspect as well. So setting up different types of projects that people can work on, identifying different people from your team to work on those projects, and then setting up the technology and things so that they can meet via webinar or Zoom or some sort of method so they see each other face to face. Maintaining the culture, as I mentioned, you can do happy hours, you can do different types of gatherings. It is so easy to just say, hey, you know what, we used to get together in person for our regular meetings, you know, once a month. We're not in person anymore, so we're just not going to do it. That needs to not be what you do. You need to make sure that you are doing those regular get-togethers, that you're sharing information, that you're keeping individuals updated in the loop, just like you do if they are in the office. And you have to do whatever you can to continue maintaining your culture. It might be a little bit difficult, might be a little harder than it is when people are in the office, but there are all kinds of different services out there that you can utilize to help maintain your culture. I don't know if any of you have utilized Kahoot, but it is a super fun, it's almost like a game show kind of a thing. And across our firm, we've utilized Kahoot to do different team building activities and to really create fun and still keep everybody connected with the fun nature of our culture. And then lastly, when it comes to WorkFlex, you cannot forget to recognize your employees. Just because you see them doesn't mean they should be out of your mind. So out of sight, out of mind does not work with WorkFlex or remote work arrangements. If an employee has a birthday, you need to recognize it. If an employee has an anniversary, you need to recognize it. If somebody is given an award or has something that they've accomplished, you want to make sure that you're still recognizing employees. It's been great at Eide Bailey. They recognize how hard everybody is working from home, and occasionally they'll just give us some sort of gift. And it just really says a lot about the organization, and it really could tell your employees what you think of them if you continue to recognize them, even if they're not in the office with you where you can see them. So with WorkFlex, I know that when COVID hit last year, and most of us, if not all of us, had to figure out different ways of getting our work done, we thought, oh my gosh, especially in a CPA firm, there's no way we're going to be able to do this, right? We're a CPA firm. We're right in the middle of tax season. We're never going to be able to do this. And I think what we and what most employers have found is that there are many circumstances, far more than we thought, that can be successful working remotely. And so some of the stats that we've seen is that 74% of companies do plan to shift some of their employees to remote working permanently. 74% of CFOs and finance leaders will move at least 5% of their employees to work remotely after the pandemic is over. 25% say that they're going to move 10% of their workforce, and 4% of the respondents said that they will have 50% of their workforce working remotely on a permanent basis. This all just leads to the fact that this is what employees are now going to expect, right? If they've been working from home, they've proven that they can be efficient, effective, and successful at it. The company is benefiting from it. There haven't been any responses of a negative perspective to employees working from home. Then employees are going to be standing up saying, hey, you know what? I like working from home, or I like working from a different remote location and not going into the office. And employers are going to have to respond to that.
Another thing that we've seen a lot, and we were actually starting to see more and more depression, anxiety type of diagnoses and leaves of absence being requested before COVID even hit. And so COVID, of course, and pandemic and isolation have added a whole nother level of complexity regarding mental health. And employees are looking to their employer to help in this space. It used to be where, all right, well, if you had a mental health concern, we want you to take a leave and take care of that and keep that out of the workplace, right? I mean, I've been in HR a long time. At least that's how, in the early days, right? That's how we would look at it. Like, okay, that's great. We're going to have you, take care of that, and we aren't going to really talk about it. And it's confidential and all those things, which still is a confidential diagnosis, but employees are really looking to their employers to help in this space. And I think not just really about wellness as a whole, and certainly mental health is a big part of that. So things like mental health apps become very, very, very popular. We've looked at MoodFit, we've looked at Calm. We're getting ready to introduce an app here probably in the next week or two. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we're getting ready to roll some things out to our employees. But it's really about meeting employees kind of where they're at in terms of their own mental health. And I read an article actually just last night that was about right now, many of us are kind of sitting in that middle ground. So we're not necessarily depressed, but we're not also maybe thriving. It's just this weird limbo land that we're all sitting in. And I think people are trying to figure out how to navigate that as well. How do I get back to thriving versus just kind of existing in this weird kind of space we're in right now? So great resources out there in terms of apps. If you don't have an employee assistance program, I would implore you to take a look at employee assistance programs, or they're referred to as EAPs. Utilization of EAPs is way up in terms of people recognizing that they have concerns or things that they need to be addressed. And this might be mental health, but it also might be financial concerns or relationship issues, or good grief, I don't know how to parent that teen of mine right now, right? So all of these kinds of different resources are available through EAPs. Another great I used the EAP as a manager. So I, was working with someone that had a substance abuse issue, and I was having a hard time navigating kind of tough love in this space. And so I called the EAP, who I was already working with on behalf of this employee. And I just said, I think I'm too close to this. Like, I'm sucked in and I feel so bad. And I know that I'd like to give this person another chance. And the EAP was really great with saying to me, like, you've already given this person chances, right? So it's now tough love, and you need to be able to walk away from this employment relationship, which was really, really hard. But I found the EAP to be really helpful as a manager of people as well. So I'd implore you to take a look if you don't already have an EAP. And see with that, if you might be able to add that type of a resource, generally pretty reasonable in cost. The other thing I think is just talking about it, creating a space where people feel like they can talk about it. They can say, I'm struggling and I can't name it, but can you help me? We have all staff meetings. One of the silver lining positive things that's come out of the last year is that we've been able to be very transparent and get on meetings such as this with all of our staff. And we talk about mental health in those meetings. Almost every single one we've had since this started, where we talk about mental health and resources available and just how you might be feeling and why. We brought our EAP in to do different sessions this last year on various topics related to parenting during a pandemic, to various things. So keeping these things forefront and talking about them creates a culture where if somebody is really struggling, they can raise their hand and say, I need some help. Can you help me? And it's important, I think Lori mentioned some examples earlier, but of finding ways to keep people connected to each other and engaged. So if that's employee groups where you maybe have a parenting group that gets together and talks about various things, or Eide Bailey has a women's group and we're launching a heritage group and a pride group over the summer, but trying to find ways where people who have similar backgrounds or thoughts or concerns maybe even can connect and work together. We even found that utilizing technology, like, for example, we use Teams a lot as a collaboration tool, is good. So maybe it's like we're on a call, Lori and I, and we're working on our various things that might not even be the same, but we have a chance to say, hey, what are you having? Hey, what are you cooking for dinner tonight? Or what do you have planned for the weekend? And just trying to keep some of those kind of informal connections going in the organization is really, really important. So estimated 26% of Americans ages 18 and older, so about 1 in 4, suffers from a diagnosable mental disorder in a given year. So, and many people suffer from more than one mental disorder at a time. So this is a very real, prevalent concern of your employees. So imperative to stay on top of that. Understanding a younger workforce. So we have a lot of millennials in the workforce. By 2025, I think that the stat is that 80% of our workforce will be individuals that are considered to be millennials. And those millennials will start to take on various leadership roles in our organizations. And so it's really important for us to understand what's important to our whole workforce, really, but certainly our younger workforce is looking for certain things like working options, like Lori talked about, where I work, when I work, how I work, really being able to tailor their work experience into what works best for them. And I love that the younger generation has been very vocal in this space, because I think it's brought about things that the rest of us, because I'm no longer in that category, but that the rest of us have wanted and maybe didn't express or ask for in our working environment. So, but definitely options is what I'm finding. We did focus groups last week internally at Eide Bailey of our different staff, really around what we're calling our future flexibility. So what is our work model going to look like post-COVID, or in the next few months, we hope. I don't know if there is a post-COVID or how we define that, but in the next few months, what our workforce and how we work is going to look. And we talked with people from different geographies and industries and ages, and and all kinds of things. But really people, what it came down to was, let's try to put together a model of what it looks like. But the model really is, I'd like to be able to design it myself based on my needs at any given time. So options are really important. As I mentioned, collaboration is really important. And what we're hearing is some people maybe don't want to go back to into the workplace, but they really miss those interactions with their coworkers. And especially if you hire someone in new during this time frame where they haven't been in the office maybe at all or as much, and they're really craving those connections. Like, how do I learn who my person's going to be that I go to when I have that silly question that I feel like I shouldn't ask my manager, right? Like, how do I open this file, or where can I find this again? So creating opportunities for collaboration, whether virtual or in person, is really, really important. And I'd say not even just connections with employees, other employees, but your customers, your clients, right? So people are really wanting that for their own development. Like, I like to interact with the client or the customer because I think that helps me develop skills. Check-ins daily with managers. Oh God, that word daily. That's a tough one. And who feels like they really have time in their day to check in with all the people that report to them. But certainly regular check-ins are really, really important, and informal. These don't need to be really formal sit-down meetings. It could be, I send you a quick chat. How are you doing today? Or, I know you had this event over the weekend. How did it go? Or, I know you were working with this client. How did that go? Any questions? So it doesn't have to be formal, but it has to be deliberate. It has to be thoughtful. And I know when Lori was talking about WorkFlex, and the real thing is you've got to be deliberate about doing these things. And I know it adds more to all of our plates, but it's going to be what's important from a recruiting and a retention standpoint. People want to continue to learn and develop, and certainly want those types of opportunities in their workplace. So what are the things I can be doing and learning to advance my career? Very, very important to our younger generation. And transparent management practices. This is one that has happened a bit organically for Eide over the last year. We're sharing more. I think some of it's because of tools like using Zoom. People haven't tended to mind that it was over Zoom, as long as they had information that was relevant to the situation that they were in and what was important to them. So as transparent as you can be in your management practices about where we're going, what we're learning. We've been really quick to say, we're still figuring this out, right? None of us have been through a pandemic before, for example. So we're trying to figure this out as well, and we'll keep you posted, and we may have to change directions, but we're telling you that right now that we're figuring it out. So transparent management practices definitely are very, very important to that younger generation. And I think, like I said, all of us appreciate a more transparent environment as well. Okay, trend 5 kind of goes along those lines, but it's about engagement strategies. So how are you keeping people connected? It's probably a theme you're hearing kind of over and over today, but being deliberate about keeping people connected. So corporate responsibility is kind of the term that we kind of brand volunteer hours and time and dollars. And so this is another question we get asked a ton in the recruiting process, which is, what are you doing that inclusion and diversity space, and what are you doing to give back to the communities in which you live and serve? And that's why policies or time off regarding volunteer events or giving campaigns in your organizations are really important, and things that employees are looking for. So turnover is reduced by 57% for all employees actively engaged in company giving and volunteering efforts. So think about that in terms of, again, policies and where you may spend your time as an organization. Pulse surveying, I'm not going to say gone are the days of the big annual engagement types of surveys. I think they still have their place, but definitely shorter, quicker, more informal surveying of where your staff are at any given point in time is become more and more popular. So we've used pulse surveying frequently over the last year for sure. Where are you at? Are you feeling engaged? Do you have the tools you need to be able to do your job? But these are quicker surveys that maybe are 5 to 8 questions at most, not that whole, 30 question engagement survey, but it's quick. How do I get information at my fingertips as a manager or a management committee to make decisions that impact our organization? So an example of a poll survey we did more recently was, how do you want to work in the future? Do you want to go back to the office? Do you want to work a hybrid model? Do you want to work from home 100% of the time? Those kinds of questions where you're just trying to get a pulse on where the your organization may be. And again, being part of setting strategy and implementation is a great way to keep employees engaged. One space where we've had success in this area is that inclusion and diversity initiative and where we want to take it. And we knew we didn't have all the answers. We knew we wanted diverse thoughts and ideas as part of that initiative. So it wasn't just one lens that we were looking through. So involving people in any kind of strategy and implementation on more larger corporate initiatives is great for buy-in and engagement. And again, you can't have everybody involved in every initiative, but certainly where it makes sense for someone's development, learning, and growth, get people involved where you can there.
The next trend we're going to talk about is consumerism in the workplace. And when we're talking about this, what we're talking about is the fact that employees now are, they're looking at their employment from a shopper's perspective, right? They're out there, they're looking at what different companies offer, and they're going to pick the company that offers what is best for them. So it's a consumer market when it comes to trying to recruit and retain employees. And employers who focus on employees and consider what it is that employees may want are going to be far more successful than those who don't. Those who think an employee, you're lucky if you get to come work here, those days are gone. We now are in situations where we really do have to focus on looking at what it is that employees need. And the fact that we have multiple generations in the workplace means that there are all kinds of different needs, and there is no one size benefit plan or perk system that fits all. And so employers are having to look at different types of benefits in order to be attractive to individuals to come work for them, or to be attractive enough for employees to stay working for them. One thing to consider is a lifestyle spending account, or an LSA. And this is an account that an employer sets up and funds for employees so that they can then be reimbursed for different types of lifestyle benefits. It could include a gym membership. It could include things related to their hobbies. It could be smoking cessation. It could include different types of just anything that fits in with their lifestyle. It used to be that companies would offer a gym membership, or then they'd say it was a wellness benefit. Well, there are some people like myself who don't go to the gym. I find wellness in other areas, right? I have different hobbies that I'm part of. I enjoy going to trainings and learning different things. And so having a lifestyle spending account that employees can choose what it is that helps them in their lifestyle, be a more well-rounded person, or just feel better about themselves and live a healthier lifestyle, whether that's mental health or physical health, can really go a long ways with your employees. There are also some different things that you need to consider with regards to some of the more modern benefit options. And with this, you're going to want to take a look at your employee base and what makes sense for the demographic, the age, or just the interests of the employees that you have. So you may want to look into health-related benefits that offer expanded fertility, or gender reassignment or transformation assistance, or even critical illness type insurance. If you have an older population, you may want to look into more of those AFLAC type benefits. And there are a number of different health-related insurance companies that offer critical illness or other types of voluntary benefits that you can offer your employees to help meet their needs. You also want to make sure that you're considering benefits that will address not only their physical health, but also their mental wellness. As Lisa mentioned, employee assistance programs are very important, especially just given what we're all going through with COVID. Some people are handling the pandemic fine. Some people are not. And in looking at the racial equality that our country is currently facing, some people are handling that very well. Other people are not. And as an employer, you want healthy employees, physically and mentally. And so finding different types of benefit plans that can address both the physical and the mental health of your employees is important. When it comes to employee assistance programs, I have found with a few of my clients that the employee assistance benefit is actually embedded in either their health plan or it's embedded in their life insurance plan. So if you are currently offering health or life insurance, you may want to follow up with your benefit providers to see if they have an employee assistance program arm of the benefit, because that can really go a long ways. And then communicate about it. Many employees don't know what benefits are available to them. You know, they went through information overload day, otherwise known as orientation, where they were given all kinds of information and they've forgotten about it. So maybe highlighting some of the different benefits that you offer and communicating those to your employees so that they are aware of the different things that you are providing can also help employees realize that you are a great employer. Virtual and telehealth options, these are a must, especially right now. Just on Monday, I used Teledoc, didn't have to go into the doctor, didn't have to risk running into people who might have COVID or, you know, the flu or any of those kinds of things. Called the Teledoc, literally got in to see him within 5 minutes of me entering my information. He assessed my situation, put my prescription at a pharmacy, and within an hour, I was taking my medication for the ailment that I have, right? So Teledoc and virtual telehealth options not only are less expensive for you as an employer, they're less expensive for your employees. And that it can go a long way. And they're just so convenient, so very convenient that it needs to really be something that you look into. And again, most healthcare providers will have some sort of virtual or telehealth option that could be embedded in it. So definitely reach out to your provider to see if that is available for your employees. Financial wellness and assistance. We talk about physical health, we talk about mental health. We also, as employers, have to be concerned with their financial wellness and providing employees with opportunities, whether it's training or access to tools that can help them with their financial wellness, will go a long, long way. And if you want to set up different types of benefits, such as tuition reimbursement or a matching contribution for their retirement plan, you can certainly set those up as perks and make sure that you are communicating with your employees what those different benefits really can do for the employee's overall financial wellness. I had a client who, we've had a 401k plan where the employer matches the contribution up to a certain percentage. We had about, I would say, maybe 5% of the employees participating in the 401k plan. We actually asked the financial services provider to do a training session to educate employees on retirement and what they could be doing now and the difference between starting now as opposed to starting 4 years ago when many of them had started. And it opened up their eyes, and we now have 95% participation in the retirement plan, which that's a benefit for the employee. So if you do have any kind of retirement plan as part of your benefit package, make sure you're communicating with your employees and that you are finding ways for the financial services provider that you're utilizing to communicate and train and educate your employees. The next thing to consider is your paid time off. You know, we do want to make sure that employers realize the importance of providing paid time off to their employees. Everybody needs time away to just rest and rejuvenate. So you want to make sure that you are offering that, but as a separate component, as part of your, it kind of goes back to what Lisa was just saying about giving back to communities and the importance of that in an employee's mind. Give them specific paid time off for volunteering, whether it's 4 hours a year, 8 hours a year, for them to go volunteer someplace that fulfills their needs. We have a lot of employees with a lot of different interests, right? You might have somebody who wants to volunteer at an animal shelter. You may have somebody else who wants to help build houses through Habitat for Humanity. You may have somebody else who wants to be a volunteer for a community sporting program, right? Let employees use time, paid time off, to go volunteer in their communities. It's very important, and employees actually are expecting those types of things. All right, we have our second polling question. Take it away, Amy.
Okay, polling question number 2 is open. Do you need assistance building a successful employee record structure? While they're answering, what tool or software do you use for poll surveying?
We've used different things, but honestly, even just something as simple as like SurveyMonkey has been probably the most effective for us. So that's what we've created our last several rounds of pulse surveying in. There's all kinds of fancy tools out there, and we are looking at some of those just from a better maybe data reporting backend structure, but SurveyMonkey, simple, easy, done.
Okay, just to continue on with benefits, we partner with an organization called Mercer, where we get a lot of information with regards to what other organizations our same size are doing related to benefits. And we wanted to just share some of those things so that others can be aware of what is going on. So among the most common changes that companies are considering in the benefit area is expanding that virtual or telehealth programs. 32% of the people who participated in the survey said that they are now going to expand their benefit programs to include virtual or telehealth. And I truly think it's due to COVID, right? People don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want to get the COVID, right? So we want to try and provide opportunities for our employees to still get help from doctors and do it in a virtual capacity. Another thing is just enhancing that mental health support. As Lisa mentioned, mental health is so important, and just ignoring it and sweeping it under the rug and thinking that that's something that employees can just deal with on their own is not the way to go, because a mentally unhealthy employee is not an effective employee, right? It is going to have ramifications on their work. So reaching out and finding out all you can about whether you have employee assistance programs embedded as part of your benefit offering or adding it, and then communicating with your employees about mental health, providing them with tools and resources so they know where to go is really important. And 25% of the survey respondents have indicated that they are considering adding those types of benefits. Another one is increasing the cost sharing for plan expenses, such as deductibles, premiums, and co-payments. Every year when you go through annual enrollment, your benefit providers are giving you a whole bunch of information about, okay, here's what you have, but here's some other options. And really taking a look at those cost sharing plans so that you can minimize the cost for the employee, if at all possible, while still providing great coverage. 20% of the survey respondents are looking at increasing those cost sharing plans and the benefits that they're providing. Then there's adding or expanding those voluntary benefits. If you don't offer life insurance or short-term disability insurance or long-term disability insurance, if you don't have vision insurance, you could offer those plans as a voluntary benefit, and that way employees are able to access those types of perks and benefits if they want to at their own cost. And the cost to the organization would just be the administrative fee for offering the benefit and processing the payroll and those types of things. But it's a great way to offer benefits that employees are looking for. If you can't afford to offer them at the employer's cost, offer them as voluntary benefits. And 16.5% of survey respondents said that that's something they were considering. And then last but not least is augmenting services for managing your high cost claims, including specialty pharmacy. There are a lot of high cost claims that come in that can increase your cost for insurance, and looking at additional services that you can provide to keep those high cost claims down is something that a number of respondents are looking into.
Okay, I'm going to take a few minutes here and talk about trend 7, which is reskilling. And this, I'll be honest, has been a concept that I've had a hard time getting my head around for a while, but really it's about employers offering training opportunities, development for people to enhance different competencies or different skills. So we've spent a lot of time talking with internally and with clients about what are the competencies that are going to be necessary in our worlds, in our businesses in the future. And maybe it's things like innovation. We spend a lot of time talking about innovation and collaboration. Analytics, huge skill, hard to find people that have great like data analytics experiences, mainly because they're in such high demand. That's why they're hard to find. Being creative and adaptable. So what are the competencies that you think are going to take your organizations to the next level? What are the skills that you think people will need to continue to grow your businesses or make them thrive? So employees are really looking for ways to learn these things if they don't feel like they already have them. So are there experiences you can give them or training that you can provide or offer to pay for that help them in this space? So for example, analytics, like I mentioned, this is a really hot skill right now. We feel like our staff really need to have great analytical skills. There are courses like micro-credentialing, I think they call it sometimes. So there are courses and things out there that people can take through maybe your local universities or any kind of association you may belong to, potentially as part of what your industry is. So look at some of those things. Some of those things are not terribly expensive, and maybe the employee ends up with a micro-credentialing or a badge. Maybe you've heard people talking about badging, and I get a badge in data analytics, or I get a badge in, I don't know, Salesforce or Microsoft suite of products or something like that. So those types of things are important to your staff. So take a look at those sort of things. One of the things that we've done also internally is an exchange, we're calling it. So essentially it's taking employees that are high performers but have an interest in another area of the business. They don't want to leave, or we don't want them to leave and go gain that experience or get that experience somewhere else. So can we offer them a different experience within our own organization? So maybe you have someone, or we have someone that's in accounting, a tax accountant, but really what their interest is maybe more in technology. So can we have them do kind of a rotation or an exchange, we call it, in our Salesforce area, for example, to learn more about Salesforce? The goal of this hasn't necessarily been that we move people around, but really that people have a better understanding of what another part of our business does, and they can also explore that on their own and decide if it's something they really like, or it just sounded really glamorous, but it's not really what my passion is after I try it. We definitely have moved people to different areas as a result of that, or different departments, but it's really about giving them exposure to a different type of skill set to see if it's something that is of interest to them. Embed kind of how do I reskill, or what other skills or competencies may I need in your performance management conversations. So talk with your employees about what else is it you'd like to learn about, and how can we get you there. Recognize people who make the effort and go above and beyond in terms of like, I did go get that badge and I did it kind of more on my own time, or I did it in addition to this crazy workload I already have. So make sure you're recognizing those people, and that you're talking about these kinds of opportunities when you recruit, because as I mentioned before, development and ongoing opportunity is really important in our candidates as well as our employees. So make sure you're talking about any opportunities you may be providing to your candidates as they're coming in. So whether it's your performance management system, or opportunities to, like I said, try things in different areas, or we develop you in these competencies, or whatever it may be, make sure you're talking about all the great things you're doing as part of that recruiting process as well.
Speaking of recruiting, this happens to be an area of passion for me. I have 31 years of experience in HR, and I would say a majority of my time was spent on recruitment. I love recruitment. I know some people don't enjoy it. I look at it as an area where you get to talk positively about your company. You don't have to deal with employees complaining about things or worrying about things. It is all about talking positively about your company to get people to apply. Recruiting certainly looks very, very different because of what we've been through in the last year. We thought it looked different a year ago just based on technology and social media, and then COVID hit, and that really changed things for everyone. One of the things to consider is the fact that now, due to the fact that so many people have worked remotely, there is no longer the expectation that they have to come work in your office. And as you are recruiting individuals, you can recruit someone to work remotely and fulfill a job if that job truly is one that fits that type of a situation. With that, it means that if you are in a smaller geographic location and your candidate pool is small, you can open up the floodgates and you can now recruit people from well outside of your area, as long as you are open to having them work remotely. So you can have access to skill sets and individuals that you maybe previously would not have considered. You also have to factor in too that you may have people all over the place, where your location may be, let's say your location is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and you have now some employees who are working in various different geographies. It is important when you are recruiting to keep in mind what makes sense for you and whether it does make sense to have your teams distributed across the United States, or if you truly do need to have them in the office. But if they don't need to be in the office, this is actually a positive thing for you. You can start promoting your positions and getting a wider pool of candidates, which is a good thing. One thing that we all need to do is we need to make the application process far easier. And far more engaging. It's no longer click here and submit this if you want to apply for a job, or just upload your resume and we'll get back to you whenever. You now have to put in place different technologies to stay in touch with people the way that today's candidate likes to be communicated with. And I can tell you, the younger generations, they don't read their email as much, right? They are on their phones nonstop. So having some sort of mobile app, utilizing text messaging to communicate with candidates, and scheduling your interviews online, and even conducting your interviews via video conference, utilizing technology for recruitment is very, very important. And there are some inexpensive ways to do that. There are some HRIS systems that automatically can do it for you. So there's a number of different options out there for you to choose, but you need to make sure that you are incorporating technology into your recruitment process. The rebirth of internal recruiting, Lisa touched on it a little bit. You have great people currently working for you, and there are probably some people in that mix who have skill sets that you don't know anything about, or may have forgotten about because they've been with the organization for so long. So doing internal recruiting, posting your open positions within your company and seeing if there are any internal candidates who might be a good fit is an easy way to not only get really good people, they already know your company, you don't have to put them through orientation, but also can help with your retention efforts because you're providing them with new opportunities. It's kind of that upskilling like Lisa was talking about. Company culture absolutely still matters. Doesn't matter if people are in an office or working remotely, you have to promote your culture. Employees will join an organization because of the position, the pay, the benefits. They will stay with a company that may pay them less or may not have as great benefits if the company culture is intact and is something that they fit in well with. So you need to continue making sure that your company culture is strong and that you are promoting it in your recruitment efforts. People want to join a great company. You're still going to be hiring for soft skills, so those communication skills, the ability to work with other people, the problem solving, those kinds of things. So incorporate questions or different methods for identifying the soft skills as part of your recruitment process. And then you utilize assessments, whether those are personality assessments, background checks, drug tests, those kinds of things, references. There are ways to get it's a way of getting a lot of information about a candidate to determine if they are a good fit before you hire them. And you want to make sure that you have all of the information you need before making a hiring decision, because making a bad hiring decision, as you know, can be very, very costly. And then last but not least, there is power in the candidate's experience, okay? You need to make sure you put candidates through a strong interview process where they get to interact not only with the person who might supervise them and the manager or the owner of the company, but also with individuals that they're going to be working side by side with. They need to picture themselves working with different types of folks. This is somebody I could go to lunch with and work on a project with. This is somebody that I would feel comfortable taking work direction from. And this is somebody who I believe I could follow as they lead the company into the future. You want to have them connecting with as many people as possible. You want them to see what your company is all about, to feel your culture. So make sure that your interview process allows them the opportunity to do all of those things. And I love the statement, employee referrals or not, right? Some companies rely only on employee referrals. I think gone are the days of hiring your neighbor's best friend's dog walker, right? Just because they're your neighbor's best friend's dog walker. You need to make sure that you are following a process that encourages employees to refer strong individuals who will be a good fit for your organization moving forward, and not just anybody that they can think of because they're going to get money for referring someone. Have a strong employee referral program and encourage the employees to refer strong candidates. Social recruitment, of course, is important, being on LinkedIn. If you're going to have a Facebook profile, if you're going to do any type of, God forbid, Snapchat or things like that, you have to be dedicated to it. If you're not going to be dedicated to keeping your social media updated, don't bother. A bad social media campaign from a recruitment perspective will do more harm than not having one at all. But you do need to have one. So designate somebody who really enjoys social media and make sure that you are utilizing those outlets, not only to reach out to individuals, but to get a really strong picture of who they are. 94% of recruiters already use or plan to use social recruitment. 49% of recruiters who use it report that they get decent candidate quality. And then 70% of recruiters plan to increase social recruitment investment. Social recruitment is here to stay, whether we like it or not. If it's not your area of expertise, you hate doing it, find somebody who loves doing it, because those who really enjoy it have great success with it, and it can really be beneficial for your organization. And then social recruitment, when we talk about social recruitment, it's not just about posting a job out on LinkedIn or doing something on Facebook or tweeting something. It's actually identifying strong candidates. So having somebody who can go into LinkedIn, search the LinkedIn databases, and find individuals who might be a good fit. It also includes sending different messages, being strong about how you interact with individuals on different platforms like Facebook. It's tweeting out links to available positions or sharing stories about individuals and linking stories via Twitter. It's posting employee photos on your Instagram account so that they can get to know your organization and see the culture. And it's also creating videos that you can share that highlight your organization. It's very time intensive, and you want to make sure that you have somebody who enjoys doing it and who does it well. And oftentimes, whoever is handling recruitment can partner with somebody in marketing, and we find that it's very, very successful, because the marketing folks are all about promoting things in a positive way, and recruitment is all about, you know, interviewing individuals. Once we get them interested, it's getting them to join the organization. With recruiting trends, we see a number of different trends. I'm not going to read through these just to respect our time here today, but there are a lot of different trends out there with regards to recruiting diverse candidates, recruiting for soft skills and utilizing assessments, utilizing interviewing tools, of promoting company missions, and of using big data. And when we talk about big data, it's all those different pieces of information that you gather on an employee or a candidate that you utilize to determine if that person is a good fit for your organization or not. We got lots of data coming in. If you're asking the questions, make sure that you are using the answers to help you determine if you want to hire somebody. With regards to performance management, the trend that we are seeing is that we are moving away from formal performance evaluations, the annual performance evaluation where you sit down, you've got the 3-page form, you fill it all out, you tell the employee what you think about their performance, they sign it and you put it in a performance file. It's more about ongoing conversations that happen all the time. Employees know where they stand from day to day because you're having a conversation with them. It's about recognizing positive performance so that they will continue behaving in that manner, and addressing poor performance. You still want to document poor performance in case you need to move to termination. You want to follow a progressive discipline format. But it's more about, performance management is more about talking with them on an ongoing basis, figuring out what their long-term goals are, and helping them establish ways to get there, whether that's through developing new skills, going through training, being provided with different projects. The thing is, it has to be open communication and more collaborative than it has been in the past. And you want to make sure that you don't just assign someone as a performance manager or a supervisor just because that's the next step in a logical career path. You want to have people who are good at managing, supervising, and coaching. Those are the individuals you want to have in your performance management type roles.
Okay, and our last trend, I'll spend just a second on here, which is automation and data. Automation may seem a little far off, but certainly a hot topic and things we're looking at in terms of how do we automate processes that are just time crunchers, right? Like where we spend way a lot of time and there's not a lot of value. And that might be things like, how do we get a candidate scheduled for an interview? And are there tools that we can use? There's a tool we use right now called Calendly. You send a link, the employee finds, or the candidate finds the time and schedules the interview. And that's takes the place of a person that we have to have, making those calls and follow-ups and trying to get people scheduled, for example. The other thing I would just say is data, right? Use your data, whatever you have. Data is really key. So look at your turnover data if you can, your cost per hire, your time to fill, but really take the time to look at the data that you have and form strategies based on what you're seeing there. So even things from your engagement surveys or your pulse surveys. So what are people telling you, and how do you action that? So pay attention. Sometimes HR, for example, has been a profession where it's a bit more seen as a bit more soft, but really it's important now more than ever to use the data you have available to drive the right strategies in your organization. This is a quote I love: without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I think I probably in my own career relied on that too long, but data is important and key. So pay attention to what you have available to you.
So the question came in, we have an issue with some employees' positions not being eligible to work from home, so they don't want other employees to have that privilege. How do you address that inequality? My perception, and Lisa, chime in if I don't hit on it properly, is that there are going to be some positions that can't be done remotely. And if that's the case, then you designate those specific positions and you kind of just are transparent and explain to the employees why those positions can't be done remotely. If you have a specific individual in that position who is not working effective remotely, you deal with that specific person and that performance issue. It could be that you coach them on what they need to be doing so they can be more effective. If that doesn't work, then I'm sorry, they're going to have to come in and work from the office if that's the only way to get them to work effectively. Yeah. With that, there are going to be some positions that you can, and you should not penalize the people who are in positions that can be effective remotely by saying that no one can do it just because all of you can't do it.
Yeah, it is tough though. I mean, I agree. And I think it's just a transparent conversation about based on your role and what we need you to do day to day. This is why, and then maybe it's more about conversations about what else you might be able to do in the future in terms of moving into a different role that would offer that type of benefit. But it's about honesty and transparency and recognizing it's not going to be fair or equal for everyone.
Yeah. You'll be surprised. There are going to be some individuals in your organization who don't want to work remotely, right? Like you may say everybody in this position can, and you're going to have some people who say, I don't want to. We have a lot of folks here in Minneapolis, in our Minneapolis office, who they live at home alone. And they're tired of being at home. They want to come into the office. And So it doesn't have to be a, you have to work from home or you have to come into the office for every single position.
All right, well, we are over. So thank you all so much for attending. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Lisa. And we hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.